Good day to you, Guyana. Welcome to another edition of Facing the Nation. I'm not sure what happened with the intro today, but it's me. I'm here. It's the same Facing the Nation. Apparently, we probably had some difficulties with it, but I'm happy to be back with you again. As always, I always have to remind you of what we had the weeks before, and to always thank you for all the inbox messages, the messages that you've been sending, and so on. I know persons were really happy to hear week before last week to hear from the director of the Solid Waste Management Department about everything that is happening. And I dare say he came a week or two before we had a significant amount of flooding in our city in the last couple of days for people to be concerned and so on. But again, I have to say congratulations to the Georgetown City Council, because even though it flooded, the water receded very quickly in a matter of hours. So it shows that they are working. But a colleague of mine made a suggestion that maybe the fact that there was so much water in certain areas 2 or 3 days ago is a reminder that the big cleaning up that we had way back in 2015 is that we need to keep doing that, and maybe we might be due for another massive cleanup. So all of these things happen too to keep us in check. So once again, congratulations to them, and we're really happy that the water receded quickly. I'd also take this time, persons who follow me on social media know for the past month I've been complaining about the rainy season and the fact that it's taking its toll on me. Strange enough, it's the May-June rain, but we are in July and it seems as though it is now beginning to fall. So please take the necessary precautions. I know some schools are already on, if you want to say, they've already toned down, because I think they're preparing for school to close. That means the little ones are at home, and when it floods, they will go out and play in the water and so on, and that is not healthy. I know for them it's fun, but it's not healthy at all. So I'm saying all of that to remind you to take precautions in terms of flooding, in terms of your health, and ensure that you take good care of those little ones who they're just carefree. They're not necessarily looking out for themselves, but we the adults have to do it. Now on to today's program. We are going to be focusing on two things, but the majority of the program we're focusing on the health. Not the health, the housing sector, and the minister responsible for this is already giving me the eye. Before I continue on that note, let me first off apologize for the minister. She might be coughing in and out of our conversation. I say kudos to her because she braved the cough to still come here and talk with you. Of course, she's the minister within the Ministry of Communities, responsible for housing. And again, if you hear her coughing every now and again, it's because she's battling a very serious cough, and I know for a fact that she's been battling that for weeks, so we hope that she gets better soon. But again, she's still here to talk to you about what's happening in terms of housing. Now, let me first introduce the minister, reintroduce her to you. Welcome to Facing the Nation, ma'am. It's a pleasure to have you back here after more than a year. Yes, and I'm stressing that. After
Indeed,
more than a year.
indeed. Well, Malika, I must say thank you for inviting me on today's program, and most importantly, I'm happy to be in the confines of our Guyanese viewing public. And I know indeed it has been some time since since I've last been here. But that being said, I'm happy to be here to share information with our populace out there. So once again, thank you very much for having me.
Perfect. You're very welcome. Viewers, of course, the last time the minister was here, she was still the minister within the Ministry of Public Infrastructure. Now it's, for me and for so many other persons, the role that she's functioning in now in the government is a bigger role. Yes, public infrastructure is important, but housing, and I like to remind you that throughout the outreaches that the government of Guyana would have hosted in the last 3 months, most of those outreaches, the housing booths and the housing tents would have been overwhelming. So we're happy that the minister is here today. There are a number of things that she wishes to address. But first off, something that is grabbing the social media community, it's taking it by storm in a sense. And I as a journalist, as somebody who works in television and who works in reporting and similar areas and similar sectors, it is disappointing when my fellow media colleagues out there take sentiments and they turn it into whatever they want to turn it into for whatever gain, push whatever propaganda. And the first thing I would want to ask the minister today to do is to address that. But I just want to read it so that you can get an understanding of where I'm coming from. One of the online news houses carried a story yesterday, of course, pertaining to minister. The headline read, "House lot applicants have to wait another year." Ferguson. It is misleading, and understand why it's misleading. I'll read the first 2 paragraphs of the actual story. East Coast Demerara residents would have to wait until another 18 months to receive house lots as the Central Housing and Planning Authority continues to grapple with a backlog of more than 40,000 applications, Junior Minister of Housing Annette Ferguson said on Wednesday. Again, I'm reading from what they wrote. These are not my words. Addressing a government outreach at Golden Grove, East Coast Demerara, Ferguson told residents that when the lands are acquired by CH&PA, the necessary infrastructure would have to be put in place before house lots are allocated. I'm not going to read any more of it. I read that to show you the difference with that and the headline. What the headline makes you think is that, all right, what are the reasons behind these people having to wait another year? And again, it didn't specifically say East Coast. So you have a bunch of people going on to the article on social media, did not read the actual story to understand what is happening. And they're running with it, and you're making the government out to be the monsters that holding on to house lots and everything, and everybody else got to wait. There are the reasons. And I like the fact that in the first paragraph, this same journalist said and spoke about the backlog, a backlog that did not begin in 2015, mind you. This government, the APNU+AFC government, took office in 2015. Let's be clear. Let's understand one thing here. I am one of the persons, and the minister would tell you this. When I think that the APNU+AFC government does something that is not necessarily fitting to the people or up to our standards, we criticize them, and that is fine. But you cannot be criticizing them and you pushing propaganda in it. If you're criticizing, you have to be honest and fair about it. Minister, now over to you. I'd like you to address what really is it that you said and what really it is that you meant regarding people having to wait another year.
Yes, thank you very much, Malika. When I saw the article carried yesterday, I was very much upset because those were not my direct words. We had an outreach in the Golden Grove area, and residents, frankly, put their concerns to the government. And one such concern had to do with that of house lots. That persons would have applied for house lots since 1990 something, coming way down since, or let's say about 20 years ago, right? So in response to the residents, I said to them, look, government is committed in addressing the whole housing sector, right? I said we inherited a huge backlog of applications in the system, right? I further went on to explain to the residents how the process as it relates to the preparation of lands are done. I said once the lands are made available to the government, what we have to do, first of all, we have to prepare those lands. And when I say prepare, what do I mean? I mean you have to debush the entire area. You have to do cadastral surveys, which would include where drains gotta go, where roads have to go, where water lines gotta be planted, where electrical poles have to be planted. And I said to the residents, that process can take in excess of 12 to 18 months. Those were my exact words. I was just explaining to the residents. I never said that they have to wait. So, explaining and saying that they have to wait, I got a major problem with that.
But Minister, if you were saying, you talked about all of these things that would have to be in place before the lands can be occupied, roads, drains, other matters of infrastructure. So if it is that they have to, you can't, because then you have another section of the population. I can tell you, I feel as though I'm a victim of that. Persons who would have received house lots, whether at the end of the former administration or at the beginning of this one, where the areas are in a very horrible condition.
You're absolutely
and by the
correct.
time you're done, you feel as though you've built two homes, two houses.
Exactly.
So it basically is a push and a give and take factor.
And I wanted to make it clear, this is not a practice designed by this APNU+AFC government. This was a practice under the People's Progressive Party Civic. And they too know that, preparation for housing schemes will take in excess of 12 to 18 months. They of themselves know that, and you're absolutely correct, because majority of the housing schemes that were developed under the previous administration, when you visit those housing schemes, the roads are in a bad state. Some, you don't even have proper electricity, right? I can go as far as Parfait Harmony. I can go to Eccles. I can go to Diamond. You go to even in Providence that they developed too. Those are the same complaints that you hear continuously. So it is something that this government indeed would have to address, and we're working towards addressing all these problems, but they will be addressed in time. So our people, I know that they're patient. They will be working with the government because they see things are happening, and rest assured, we will ensure that these matters are addressed.
All right, just so the minister could get a couple of seconds to rest her throat. Those of you who are now tuning in, this is Facing the Nation. We began today by focusing on the housing sector. And again, those of you now tuning in also, I did apologize earlier for the fact that the minister may be coughing every now and again to clear her throat. Also coming up a little later on, we'll be focusing on an event that's coming up very soon that we'd like you to support very much, because it had already cancelled from one period to another. So we're going to deal with housing first. Minister, before we go on to some of the other positives, again, because the minister is fairly new in this sector, because she was recently reappointed. Before we go on to that, even before you were reappointed, you yourself would have come in for some criticism, harsh criticisms. And viewers, the reason I'm raising this is because, again, we have a field day, we have a ball. Some people even use it for actual news. We have a ball on social media, and we talk about who's corrupt, and we pinpoint this, and we bring photographs and videos, and we have evidence of this and that. Minister, you have fallen victim to it. I saw your house on social media twice, in terms of a video and screenshot, normal photographs. I'm not sure how much you would want to say on it, because the argument that some people have, well, is the minister's personal business. But at the same time, your credibility, the people who are pushing this, they're questioning your credibility. And then I think there's another issue with how many plots of land, pieces of land that you own. I'd like you to address that now.
Well, Malika, I'm very much happy that you raised this matter, because indeed, behind the scenes, I have been observing, right? And they went so far, not only my personal property, but also trying to implicate my family property. Said all sorts of things. I mean, this is the silly season, and you will hear all sorts of things. But I want to make it clear to the viewing public, Ferguson is not corrupt. Ferguson will never be corrupt. And I know that I have a clean slate. So just last evening, I listened attentively to the leader of the opposition, because it seems as though, he has nothing positive to talk about. So they keep hitting at Ferguson having 3 plots of land. But I want to say to the leader of the opposition, the plot of land that I have is not 3 plots of land. That plot of land could actually hold in your mouth. So this is a copy of my title, and let me just make it clear. And comprising 0.2525 acres. That is the plot of land that I have.
I wish viewers, I wish our camera guys could have gotten a close up of this, but not to worry.
0.2525. That is the acre of land that I have. So when he talks about 3 plots of land, let him bring the evidence. You have to be very careful of what you're saying. And at least, and I can say, I can say it very clearly here. I went through the process. When I applied for this land was under the PPPC government. When I applied for this land. And like the ordinary Guyanese out there, I paid my full share, $1.something million I paid for this plot of land. Jack Dio will have to tell the nation how much we know the amount of monies he paid at Pradoville too. So you have to be very careful. And as I said before, I am monitoring it. And if the leader of the opposition doesn't intend to stop at it, well, he will hear from me differently. And I'm ready to challenge you, sir. So if you have the evidence that Ferguson has 3 plots of land, bring it to the viewing public's attention. You have your cronies at the Ministry of Communities, the Housing Department, and I know very well they would have said to you the amount of plot of lands that I have. So you have to be very mindful, Mr. Jagdeo. So if you think by trumping up these accusations would lead you to take power again, rest assured, the Guyanese public out there are wiser than that. So, Ferguson, it seems as though I'm not entitled to anything. The Constitution, by right as a Guyanese, I am entitled to a proper housing accommodation. And I went through the process. Nobody didn't favor me. I went through it. So, Barra Jagdeo, if you don't stop, you will hear from me through my attorney at law. Thank you.
Wonderful. I have nothing else to say on the matter. I think the minister handled it very well, and I hope that, he indeed stops. I found it interesting when you said that the land that you have can hold in his mouth, because the amount of things, the amount of nonsense that comes out of it, it really is, heart-rending.
Malika, before we move on, Guyanese, if we don't wake up, and we keep allowing this man to spew lies, because he's a pathological liar. That is what he does every Thursday out at his office in Church Street, trying to trump up lies on this government. We're corrupt, we're this, we're that. But I'm saying to you, sir, bring the evidence that we are corrupt. And my brothers and sisters out there, do not fall to what this man is saying. You have to be very careful. You voted for a government. We are a credible government from 2015 to now. Our track record will show we are not corrupt. We're treating everybody equally. And we're delivering. Yes, we are aware of the complaints coming. But 4 years cannot unravel 23 years of corruption, 23 years of wrongdoing, 23 years of systems being broken down under the People's Progressive Party Civic. It will take us some time, and your government is working towards addressing all the wrongdoings.
Thank you very much, Minister. I want to move on to some of the positive things now.
Yes.
I know recently you and your team at the housing department there in the Ministry of Communities. You addressed some persons who would have been squatting for over 3 decades,
Yes.
I'm told. Could we talk about that project, what it is expected to do, and most importantly, I would want to talk about how the people are accepting, because there are not complaints about other sections of more so Georgetown, our city, that some of those people who are actually still squatting, they have been allocated house lots and so on in various areas, but some of them just insist that they don't want to move because it's too far out of town.
Yes.
But let's first talk about your project with, I think it's the Lombard Street area.
17 to 18, yeah.
Go ahead.
Malika, as you rightfully put, I've been recently reappointed to the Ministry of Communities with responsibility for housing. So, I'm actually getting my feet, grounded in the system. So I'm basically looking, learning, and listening, right? But outside of that, I know that this particular issue was being addressed by my predecessor, the Honorable Valerie Patterson. The residents out at 17 and 18 Broad and Lombard Streets, apparently they were squatting on a portion of land that was engaging the attention of the courts. And it so happened that the courts would have granted the plot of land to the private party. So government stepped in 2017, right, to see whether we can, set aside, because it's a vulnerable community. We know that the people are poor, single parents, you got children going to school and all manner of things. So as a caring government, what we did, we stepped in to see how best we can, identify a plot of land and, to help them in constructing reasonable homes.
How many families?
It's in excess of 52 families. But what we're going to do, this first phase will be addressing 21 families.
Okay.
So the plot of land has been identified at Prospect. We had the MOU, which was signed between the Central Housing and Planning Authority and that of Food for the Poor some 2 weeks ago. And what we said to the residents there is that by the new month, which is July month, we would have the sod turning done. So that was done yesterday. So the sod was turned. We were expected to start construction by August, and the project is expected to be completed by November. So what is going to happen, we will see 21 houses will be constructed, and we have partnered with Food for the Poor. So Food for the Poor will be building those houses. The residents, what they will be doing is that they will be digging the area for the septic tank. They will have to ensure that the electricity and the water,
They're responsible for those things.
exactly, those will be processed by them. So that is basically.
And they have agreed to this?
Oh yes,
because
they have agreed with it.
Prospect Lombard Street again. Viewers, I'm sorry to always be a friend says that I'm always the Debbie Downer, but I'm just realistic. Have you discussed with them and do they understand? Because again, we don't want a problem whereby this project is providing for them, but then at the end of the day, man, me want to go all the way up in Prospect.
Well,
you know us, you know guys.
Yes, I understand. Well, based on what was told to me, is that leading up to the entire process, these families, they were engaged. You had the Ministry of Social Protection, you have the NGO bodies came in, they came on board, you had Ministry of Public Health, Ministry of Public Security, Central Planning and Central Planning Authority, and I think some other agencies would have played a part in that. We met with the family, do like psychosocial evaluation, conditioning their minds, right? That, from with this transformative process is likely to take, right? Just to, condition the mind that, well, look, you're coming out from a slummy looking area, an unhealthy area, and this area, it's more healthy. It's, you'll be exposed to electricity, you'll be exposed to water, you have proper roads, you have accessibility to roads. There's also, what else? Transportation and all manner of things. So they have all consented. And I can tell you, my interaction with a few yesterday, no one has said anything negatively. Right? They're all happy. I guess all they want to see is the process start, the construction process start, so that at least at the end of the project, they all will have a nice, reasonable roof over their heads. And what we said to them, we encourage them or challenge them. To whom much is given, much is required.
Exactly, yes.
So government would have given you, started you off by, probably it might be a little 20 by 20 or 20 by 18 or 20 by 30. But what we want to see in another 5 years' time, you must be able to extend your homes, So they were encouraged to have that done. So they're all pleased. I can assure you that they're all pleased. And to answer your second question, as it relates to some of these persons might have they were allocated house lot.
Yeah.
I guess that is yet to be determined because as a new minister, I'm still trying to ensure exactly and get certain information and so forth. So before we can proceed further.
All right. One of the things, even as a new minister, one of the things I know you would have addressed almost immediately when you went into that ministry is some amount of disappointment with contractors. And this was a period when you visited I think this was the first scheme under this government, Perseverance scheme.
Yes.
And I know you did a walkabout. There were some sentiments floating around social media asking, where did they take you? Did they take you on the houses where they actually had problems and where the contractors did not complete? But again, I know after that, you yourself made some sentiments, basically taking some of these contractors to task. What is the situation where that is concerned? And really and truly, how have people either suffered setbacks or, just not been able to move into their homes?
The complaints came to me respect to persons would have approached the bank, acquire a mortgage. Some of these people, probably they were given a timeline as to when the houses would have been handed over to them. So when some of them went to the houses, they noticed that unfinished work yet to be completed, right? So people are paying mortgage, they're still paying, rent on a monthly basis. I mean, these are poor people. And as a government, we constructed these homes to ensure that our people have a proper livable condition, right? So when I visited the area, I had an opportunity to see exactly, what was being done, what were some of the unfinished work, and so forth. So based on my observations and findings, I did mention to the contractors that, one, we need to ensure that we have quality works done. Two, because at the end of the day, poor people gotta be paying the bank every month, right? And as a result of that, the sacrifices that our people have to make, we have to ensure that they're given a reasonable houses. So, as I said, the works that were done, some of the works yet to be completed, and what else? So that was basically it, right? So it's basically to say to them, one, under my watch, I will not accept substandard work.
So not to cut in, but you've been able to meet with them already?
Oh, I met with a few of the contractors, right? One is that I will not accept substandard work. Two is that the project must be completed within its timeline. I know that, projects you would have extension because of, the climate weather can be one factor, resources can be another factor in terms of equipment, manpower, and all kind of thing, right? But we must be able to ensure that these projects are done within a given timeline so that people must have an opportunity to move into their homes. So rather than, you gotta be squeezing the bull twice, rent and then mortgage, because Mr. Bank wouldn't be too nice to you.
No.
They wouldn't be too nice to you. Once you have a mortgage with a bank, they look forward, if it's the 26th of every month, you got to pay your mortgage, right? So basically, that was my approach out at Providence, and my encouragement at Perseverance, and my encouragement to the contractors. I want to make it clear to Malika, the previous administration would have constructed these small houses at the back of Perseverance.
Yes.
They did some work in Perseverance. And I can tell you, when we came into government, the amount of corrective works we had to do, and it's still ongoing, because on that walk, people pointed out to me, Minister, I moved in on X day, and this is the state of Madur, this is the state of Mawal, this is the state of this, and the complaints keep coming. So, rather than us trying to have new homes constructed, we have to be doing construction and also fixing some of the defects that occurred under the previous administration.
Okay.
Right?
All right. Again, viewers, if you're now tuning in, my conversation is with Minister within the Ministry of Communities and responsible for housing, Annette Ferguson. And notice I am saying within the ministries, because some people, when they're writing their articles, like the first article that I read to debunk the malicious headline, they like to use junior minister as though it's in a derogatory way. But remember, in this program we also like to teach, so especially our young ones who are at home, the correct term is minister within. That is the proper title. So you're being taught some things today. Minister, one of the other things, even though you touched on it earlier when we were speaking about that same article, is the backlog. I'm told some research has revealed to me earlier today that there are 25,000 active. And 28,000 inactive, and I think there's some distinction with people who have actually attempted to resell their lands because maybe they didn't have uses for it. Maybe they applied and they got through in the days of the former administration because of greed or whatever. I'm not sure. Are you in a position to talk about the 25,000 active? Because every time you go on the street, people see you, well, man, tell the minister we applied long now and we're still waiting. So I don't know. Can you talk about the 25 active and the 28 inactive?
Well, 25,000 active applications really means that, well, look, 25,000 people just keep, probably visiting the ministry to find out where their application is. So that's active. So the inactive ones are basically, perhaps those are people who might have passed on to grade beyond.
Okay.
Or it could be that, probably they were able to acquire land privately and or purchase a home privately. So that is a two distinction. So active means that, people just keep coming every day to find out what is happening. And inactive is that, people just don't turn up to follow up.
But isn't there something, okay, in terms of the 28,000 inactive, let's talk about the ones who really and truly have acquired the lands and have not done anything with it. What can your department do about this, if anything? And I should ask you if investigations are being done to see, how many of those there are.
Malika, as the new minister, once you're taking over anything, you'd want to be furnished with the relevant information. So what I have tasked my team with is that in every housing scheme, I would like to have an inventory.
Perfect.
An inventory. So once I get a type of information, then you'll know exactly if Malika was allocated a particular lot and she hasn't commenced construction, then I will have to engage Malika. Because it could be for several reasons.
Okay.
One, because of people's economic status. Two, is because of probably their age, and they're not eligible to get a mortgage or a loan from the bank, right? What can be the third factor? The third factor can be the accessibility, because of the lack of the necessary infrastructure. If roads aren't there, you think I can go on a dam or go through a dam for say I build me nice fancy home? So these are some of the factors or the reasons why persons have not commenced their construction. But what I intend to do sometime this month, I know it's gonna be a tall order for me, right? But if I can engage some of these people to find out whether you truly need the lot or what is causing you not to build. Because sometimes what you find happening is that lands that were allocated to people are not necessarily that these people are ready to construct. So if you're not ready to construct, why give a house lot? Perhaps you need to ensure that those who are in need, especially the public, people like the public servants, the vulnerable ones, people who are desperately in need of house lots, should be considered. And let me say this, Malika, while I was on the walk through in Perseverance. A young man came up to me. He said, Minister, you know what? I am renting one of these flat houses, this is one of the houses that was constructed under the previous administration. I said, boy, how much you're renting for? And who you're renting it from? He said, Minister, I said, I got documents. He was able to go, bring the contract. He paying $25,000 a month. So I started to think, it seems as though this person who was probably allocated this particular house didn't really need a house. Probably that person has.
So it's a business.
It's a business. And he's just one case. There's several cases in the Perseverance area that people are paying.
And that wasn't the intention of that scheme.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. So a lot of wrongs used to be done under the People's Progressive Party Civic. And as a responsible government, a caring government that really will be addressing the whole housing problems in our country, we have to find ways and means of addressing them.
All right. Minister, I know that at least two other issues I'd like to raise. Firstly, apart from the outreaches, while you were minister within the Ministry of Public Infrastructure, we always had, when you come here, we always talked about roads in the communities and so on. You keep stressing that if these communities are not properly developed, people will not go there to build because you have to spend too much. And again, I like to remind that I'm a victim of that. However, now that you're in the Ministry of Communities responsible for housing, can you outline specifically what are you may not be able to get to all the areas here, but what type of roads is your department responsible for want of a better word, creating and maintaining?
Well, you see, Malika, thank you very much for that question. What you find happening, once Central Housing and Planning Authority develops a housing scheme, it is the remit or the responsibility of Central Housing and Planning Authority to ensure that roads are done to ACS. It could be asphaltic concrete surface. That's what ACS means, right?
Okay.
Asphaltic roads, right? Good. But the reason why many of the housing schemes, such as Diamond, Eccles, Perfect Harmony, are in these conditions, is because of our people who have been allocated house lots and they are not building. So what we want, we don't want to, let us say in Eccles, for example, we do the entire road to ACS, right? Before people actually move in to start construction. So when you do this nice fancy asphaltic road, and then you move in, all the allottees move in to start constructing, you know what's going to happen there? It is going to deteriorate over a period of time. Why? Because the huge sand trucks and the trucks that have to truck in and transport the building materials will cause the roads to become defective. So what Central Planning and what Central Housing and Planning Authority has been doing, we bring the road up to some reasonableness in terms probably up to, we call it, not bitumen, oh boy. Anyway, you know, they...
we know it looks like sand. Yeah, it looks like a combination of sand and mud.
The word just went from me.
We forgive you today.
Good.
It's a cough.
Yes. Right, so we bring it up to some reasonableness so that the landowner can have access to the housing area, to their lands. So once you have 90% occupancy in a particular area, rest assured, housing will ensure that the roads are done to asphaltic level.
As we speak, are there any, I know we're in a push and pull thing, especially with a certain gentleman who has that press conference every Thursday. He feels that the country, the movement, the forward movement of the country should stop until he gets what he wants. That aside, currently, are there any, for want of a better word, viewers, forgive my ignorance here on this, bids, are there any bids out for any specific communities in terms of especially these new schemes?
Well, yes, we do have several bids out. When I last visited Perseverance last week, I inspected. We have a road currently being done in Perseverance, and we also have a road currently done in Farm Prospect area, and the one in Prospect is being done by Handel's construction company, but I can't recall the name of the, if it's not or something, in the Prospect, in the Perseverance area. But we do have several road projects currently ongoing through the Central Housing and Planning Authority. I know for a fact that we do have projects ongoing in Sophia presently. This is through an IDB funded funds. So we're currently doing some work. So I think the contracts were awarded to Guy America. We have contract awarded to H. Knott and Sons. I think S. Jagmohan. I think it's either 3 or 4 sets of contractors doing works in the Sophia area. So works are being done in communities through Central Housing and Planning Authority.
All right, Minister. The time has gone by so quickly, and
I want to make it clear. Yes, sorry. And I want to make it clear, Malika, when excuse me, when Central Housing and Planning Authority ensures that all the amenities, the basic amenities are in place. We would normally, once the area is is in an NDC area, we would ensure that those areas are handed over. You understand me? So that at least, the NDC can start, billing those new areas, rates and taxes and so forth.
All right. Another thing I want to ask before I have to quickly bring on our my other guest just for a few minutes. Of course, I know they'll forgive me because they understand that housing is really big.
Yes.
The outreaches. While I know the outreaches were coming to a close, and you were in transition from public infrastructure to housing, so there is not much that you can say necessarily about results of the outreaches in terms of those people who would have visited the various housing tents in the various communities that the outreaches took place, because you have people out there now asking, all right, we came to the Square of the Revolution, we went to Region 3, we went to Bartica. Is there any sort of operation in your department now to, even if you don't have the lands available for these people, is there some sort of process whereby they're being updated or informed that, look, you came to the outreaches, you indicated that you applied decades ago maybe, but we are now doing so and so. Is there a process? Because it's a bit unfortunate when people are just left to wonder what happened, man. They make we come out in the hot sun and then calling we.
Believe you me, Malika, you are absolutely correct. From all of the outreaches, and not only the outreaches, wherever I am, and the people interfaces with me, they will say, Minister, I applied for house lot since 1990, this, since 2000 and this, and I have not heard anything, absolutely no response or feedback from Central Housing and Planning Authority. Well, Malika, I can tell you this. Under my watch, that will be a thing of the past.
So
I believe so. I'm working towards to ensure that systems are put in place, even if it is a hotline. Hotline number is established. So rather than us having on a daily basis hundreds of people queuing up outside of Central Housing
and then just to tell them that lands aren't available.
Exactly. You keep them abreast. So my vision is to ensure that we have hotlines established and people will be called. They will be periodically update them on, the status of their application. And what I would want to see addressed to Malika is that you can't apply in 2019 and expect to get house lot in 2019 when we have thousands of people still waiting. You know, in April, we were in Region 2. And I mean, the tent, as you rightfully said, was overwhelmed. And I promised the people there in Region 2 that I would return. And I did return in a month's time. Last week, Tuesday, I spent the entire day there. I saw in excess of 200 people. And out of that 200 people, I was able to allocate in excess of 20 house lots to families on the naming in region number 2. I went so far, one mother, single parent, poor, 10 children. You know what I did? I gave her a low income, but I did not. I give it to her as a gift on behalf of the government of Guyana. We did not charge her a cent because of her circumstances. So Malika, I know I have a lot of work to get done. And it will not be business as usual at at Central Housing and Planning Authority. If we want efficiency and effectiveness, we have to change our modus operandi.
Minister, well said. Thank you so very much. It's always a pleasure having you, and I know we've run out of time. We never have enough time, but at least she can go and rest her voice now.
Oh yes. So yes, Malika. So before I take my leave, I want to thank you once again for having me on your program. And rest assured, I will be back here to let the people know what is happening at Central Housing and Planning Authority. With those few words being said, I thank you, viewers, for giving me your time in your home, and I look forward for more conversations like this, right? So may God richly bless us. May God continue to bless our dear country, and may God continue to bless the government of the day, a partnership for national unity and the Alliance for Change. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. And viewers, I trust that you marked the date that she said she's going to be back very soon, and I will certainly be ringing off her phone. All right, we just have a few minutes for my next set of guests. Once again, for those of you who are now tuning in, that would have been a conversation with the minister within the Ministry of Communities. Of course, she's responsible for the housing sector. What we'll do is take a very quick break. On the other side of the break, we'll be talking for maybe about 5 or 7 minutes. We'll be talking about horse racing that is coming up that you need to take. You just need to partake and be a part of it. This is Facing the Nation. Stay tuned. Thanks for staying with Facing the Nation. Well, we just have a few more minutes left. It is my pleasure to welcome back, of course, Shanika Haynes. She's no stranger to any one of us. A very loud and active government member of our government, and of course, by extension, politics. She's joined today by Mr. Sanko, Mr. Compton Sanko, who is the event coordinator for a horse racing activity that's coming up. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Facing the Nation. Shanika, welcome back to you. You know, when it comes to sport, I'm kind of a strange girl. So I'm giving the next few minutes of the program to the both of you. What is the event, you tell me that there is going to be a cancellation?
Not a cancellation, just a postponement again, unfortunately. For some reason, the weather will not hold up on us here. So we are pushing back again now to the 21st of July. We're looking to have it then. According to the weather forecast, it looks much better on that day because we don't want to have these horses or people having to traverse the Maka area and the tracks as well to have any of the horses damaged or hurt or anything like that. So we want to ensure that we have good weather to ensure that it goes off well and everybody will be able to enjoy the event, which is an event put on by the Region 4 Sports Committee, where you will see more events coming out of that committee as we do a fundraiser. We've had quite a lot of support for this horse racing event, just that we have been pushing back and forth, as I said, because of the weather, and we are extremely grateful for all the help that we've had so far, and we're looking forward to have more support on it. But as we go forward, we're looking to push it, as I said, to the 21st. We want to push it back. But I'll let
When was the in before Mr. Compton, Compton Sango comes in? When should have been the initial date of the activity?
It should have been on the 7th of July.
Okay, all right. So it's now on the 21st because
of
Mother
July.
Nature is apparently angry with us.
Apparently.
Go ahead.
But Mr. Sanko, he has a lot of information on the horses because we have some of the best horses in the
Really?
country
Okay.
just waiting to have this event go off. It's almost $1 million in prizes to be won and that kind of stuff. So it's going to be a really, really hot event. And most of the horse owners are just waiting for this event to go off, to prove points, of course.
Okay.
Mr. Sanko.
Before Mr. Sanko jumps in, viewers, you might see Mr. Sanko with his cap again. You have to forgive him. He's trying to protect his head today for personal reasons. Mr. Sanko, go ahead.
That's very much Malika. As Mr. Miko just mentioned, that the regional number 4 sports committee has rescheduled its one-day horse race meeting for the 21st. She have said to you just now the reason why is because of the inclement weather. We need to run off this event in dry weather so that the people, the fans, they could come out with their family and enjoy a grand day of racing. And for the safety of the horses that will be taking part along with the jockeys. Also, we have to cater for the beverage companies who will be taking in the big trucks with the beverages to drive safely. No,
Yes, you don't want the vehicles sticking.
Right. So we are looking for prime weather, good weather to run off this event. Based on the information that I've been receiving from the horse owners, that they are so hungry to attend this race meet. A lot of horses have been in training in Babis, quarantine Babis. On the west coast of Babis. I was on the west coast of Babis yesterday at number 9, number 29 primary school where they had a graduation. I was there, and I can tell you, it's the horse owners up there. They keep Mrs. Sanko. When this race coming up, we really want this race to come up, and we supporting you. We're gonna keep supporting the George Turf Club, and that's very nice. With Shamika, she have a lot of experience about horse racing.
Really?
And I think that with a young blood and hand coming on board, I think the support is there. And we must also thank the horse owners for upkeeping their horses. Not because we are having the postponement, they will keep the horse out of training. They are still interested in keeping the horse in training. Keep them fit, so when they come, they will be in a better position to chalk up the first prize or second prize money. In terms of horses, name of some of the top horses. When one out there, because I hear names like Red Jet, a very courageous horse, right here on the east coast of Demora, has been showing tremendous form, a lot of wins on this belt. Victoria last year, she was voted one of the champion 2 years old horses by winning 3 2-year-old event. Yes, she will be there on the 21st also. Then you're having the vast improved Up-Top Boss has been improving with each and every run, and a lot of been said about Up-Top Boss. Well, I was made to understand that Up-Top Boss is ready to take on the top opponents, so it's going to be a very, very good contest. You have a horse like Touchdown, Byron coming from till on the quarantine course. I think somewhere around Port Run area to do battle at the Georgetown Turf Club. They having Force Prince, who was very, very outstanding in the recent champion Triple Crown. They have been Quick Kiss from Grove. Oh, when that horse Quick Kiss from Grove touched the surface of Georgetown Turf Club, and a lot of followers, I can tell you they just were waiting. They just keep calling.
And
I
know you want to give all of them recognition, and I wish all of them the best, but I don't have the time. We have less than a minute left. So yes, I want you to remind them quickly.
It's going to be at the Georgetown Turf Club, which is located in the Mocha Village. You follow us on Facebook. We have more information there. Entrance fee $1,000 for adults, $500 for children. It's going to be a grand event. You'll have lots of food, drinks on sale, and I'm telling you, it's going to be a good meet. If you like horses, if you don't like them, trust me, you're going to like them after
there. Okay, and that is after the 20th, and that is on the 21st
the
of July.
21st of July. Don't miss this event.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there for now because we're definitely out of time. Mr. Sanko, you wanted to jump in quickly?
We just wanted to give two numbers.
The contacts that they could make for horse owners are interested
to participate.
Who want to get who would like to know more about the meets, you could contact Mr. Elliott on 657-0071. Mr. Compton Sanko 665-5089. Mr. Shinika on 671-0030. And those are the numbers you could make contact for further for more information. The horse race meeting on the 21st of July.
Perfect. And I'll be try to give them some updates from now until we get to that.
Will.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for coming.
Thank you very much for having us.
Definitely no problem. You're welcome. Definitely going to have to leave the conversation there for now. Once again, thank you very much to Minister Annette Ferguson. Of course, she's the minister within the Ministry of Communities responsible for the Department of Housing. Thanks to her for coming today, and I feel so great. She lifted my spirit by calling out that gentleman who, sometimes we have no choice but to refer to him as honorable simply because he's a member of or is he a member of Parliament even before this fiasco? When last did he go to Parliament? Anyway, no rant from me today. I don't have the time for it. Thank you so very much for tuning in. I always urge you, be good Guyanese citizens. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Of course, join me again next week. And this has been Facing the Nation.